When I was asked to speak, Bruce said for all of us to have a think about why we were invited to the panel, and I thought about it and I thought, really the only reason I'm here is because of my criminal record, I suspect. And it was a record that began 35 years ago, the first time I was arrested, which was when we were in a march, an Anzac Day march, about 100 women dressed in black marching behind the diggers in memory of the women raped and killed in war. That day we were all arrested, taken up to Darlinghurst Police Station. We had a fantastic day. I look at the Supreme Court today and I notice a couple of my cellmates on the bench, which is always exciting. And that day when we gave our names, for anyone who's under the age of probably 50, you won't remember, but we all gave our names as Katrina Lee. She was one of the first kind of current affair journalists around, and we loved Katrina. So, and it kicked off from there. More recently, I've had the privilege of being arrested up in the Leard State Forest. And while I totally applaud the Bentley blockade, and it was really a beautiful moment for all of us, let me tell you that the Leard blockade is really where push comes to shove. When it comes to direct action, when it comes to waking up in the morning not to have a good morning ceremony, but to get up at 3 a.m, to cut through the bush, to lock onto a bulldozer, to be there when it hits 45, maybe 50 degrees, to be there when you get taken off 12 hours later, totally delirious and dehydrated, nothing beats it for direct action. The last time I was there, I was arrested with 80 others. And it was an extraordinary day. It was a day where, again, we started at 3 a.m. I went along with a whole lot of people, one of whom was Bill Ryan, who's a member of the Greens and, 92-year-old war veteran. We're kind of cutting through the forest. It had just rained. We had 15, 20 cars all in a row trying to creep through the massive security build-up that was in that forest. And of course, watching us as we all got bogged at various places, as we spun out, we all eventually arrived at the compound. And seeing the look on the guard's face as we just went through the gate, all 80 of us, with him saying, "You don't understand, you shouldn't be here." And then, literally locking on to, 20 bulldozers and watching the sunrise, across this extraordinary compound with the forest on the edges, just so fucking proud to be there. So proud of all of us, all 80 of us, whether you were 92. I was there with Luca Jefferson, the youngest 14-year-old. There were farmers, there were doctors, there were rat bags. It was just so beautiful. So I guess I'm here because I get arrested fairly regularly. And the reason I get arrested fairly regularly is because I frankly don't have a great deal of faith in the political process. In my life, I've voted Green, I've voted Labor. As a feminist separatist, I voted for no one. But in the end, I think we are now at the point politically, I describe it as the point on the map where it says, "Beyond here, there be dragons." I don't believe in the political process very much at all. I really appreciate, Scott's point at the end that, whether you're locking on or taking the legislation through Parliament, we have all got to work together, and indeed we do. But because I'm the person who doesn't hold much faith in the political process, I will take lining up with 80 comrades to stop bulldozers any day over yet another petition or liking something on Facebook. There just is not a comparison for that. I cut my teeth in the early 80s in women's services in New South Wales. I was on the collective that started the first non-penal proclaimed place for women up at the Cross. We started the first women's rehab. We started the first single women's refuge. They were really heady days. They were glorious days where the way we got money out of the then Premier Neville Rand was 100 of us turned up on his nature strip every Sunday morning for a month with coffee and croissants and sang. And his neighbours just went, "You are kidding. You can either move out or you can give them what they want." But we are not going to cop this for much longer. And, and again, as Scott said, heady from that, suddenly we were being funded for food for the refugees, it was a big deal. But shortly after that, when we thought there was nothing we couldn't do, the same Premier formed the Tactical Response Group. And the last demonstration I went to prior to, you know, the anti-war demonstration was when all of us turned up in front of the New South Wales Parliament House demanding funds for refugees, and he turned the Tactical Response Group on us. And I tell you what, they beat the crap out of us. And it was sobering stuff, looking up and seeing friends being strangled in broad daylight on the steps of Parliament House. And I give you the tip, we did not demonstrate after that again. So I have huge faith in direct action. I have huge faith in being very clever and very funny and very brave. But I'm also very aware that at some point you reach the limit. And when the states had it up to pussy's ribbon, the state has far more power than us. And when they decide to actually exercise that muscle, it hurts like buggery, and it really does, it has a shattering effect. I think we're at the point now politically where, change is galloping towards us. Tomorrow, over the next couple of days, we'll see Ban Ki-moon talking to world leaders over climate change. They're going to put out a statement tomorrow saying, for God's sake, try and stay under 2 degrees. Let me tell you, 2 degrees changes the face of the earth as we know it. But of course, we're sailing past that. There is no way in the world we're going to stay under 2 degrees. A mate of mine's in the army, and he's always fond of telling me there's 72 hours between the power being cut off and the first brick being thrown through the window. We've got 72 hours before we start reverting to type. And I think those are the kinds of futures we're looking at. I think those are the kinds of, in the next decade or two, where we're going to be having extraordinarily different conversations. We're going to need really tight community. We're going to need really strong, flexible, resilient relationships with each other. I'm not sure how to build that, but I do know that that is our job. I don't know if that will ever turn up in the political mainstream, but I do know that that is the job before us. And that's actually, and I'll shut up on this, that's what I love about direct action. You know, you just settle your differences before you lock on with someone. You just do. It sucks having a fight with someone that you've locked onto a barrel with for 12 hours, and I've done it. It's not pleasant, you know. And I'll leave it at that, thanks.